are starting the show today with oil. Not the usual topic we begin the show with, but the price of crude oil is surging. It reached as high as $74 per barrel. That was its highest price since November 2018. That is after the State Department announced this morning it is ending sanctions waivers for 5 countries, including Turkey, South Korea, and Japan. That means those countries will face U.S. sanctions for buying crude from Iran. Here's what Mike Pompeo had to say.
We've made our demands very clear to the Ayatollah and his cronies. End your pursuit of nuclear weapons. Stop testing and proliferating ballistic missiles. Stop sponsoring and committing terrorism. Halt the arbitrary detention of U.S. citizens. Our pressure is aimed at fulfilling these demands and others, and it will continue to accelerate until Iran is willing to address them at the negotiating table.
All right, that was Mike Pompeo. And of course, President Trump has already tweeted about the story this morning. Look at this Trump tweet. He said, Saudi Arabia and others in OPEC will more than make up the oil flow difference in our now full sanctions on Iranian oil. Iran is being given very bad advice by John Kerry and people who helped him lead the U.S. into the very bad Iran nuclear deal. Big violation of Logan Act. Now, the spike in oil is also causing some pain at the pump. Unsurprisingly, AAA says that you are paying an average 20 cents more per gallon for regular gas. Jared Blikre, oil man, joins us now to break it down. Jared,
oil man.
Yeah, that's right. Well, today you are.
Okay.
Tell us basically in 101, kind of for a layperson, what this means, what these sanctions waivers were, and why we're now ending them.
All right, these sanctions first went into effect in November, but Donald Trump effectively annulled them by granting so many exemptions to them. A big part of the reason was the price of oil was so high, and he didn't want it that high. It was $76.90 90 cents a barrel, and we were just looking at Brent prices there. This is WTI, so we can see at 65, so it's still about $12 off of that high there. And Donald Trump came under a lot of criticism from Saudi Arabia and others because it caught him by surprise. Right. They thought, well, we could have made up for the production, we could have done other things, but like I said, they were caught by surprise. So nevertheless, here we are, it's 6 months later, and President Trump is now saying that he's going to end those exemptions to the sanctions. And that was a big if. Nobody really knew what was going to happen there. And so we're seeing a potential supply squeeze in the market, even though Saudi Arabia and the UAE are saying, okay, we can make up the difference. The market, there's so many geopolitical risks right now. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. We're seeing a spike in oil prices, and oil prices have already gained 43% this year. That's a huge amount. That's why, you were showing those gas prices at the beginning. That's why gas prices are higher right now, not necessarily as a result of this latest squeeze. But what we could see when this event is finally announced today by Pompeo or Trump or whomever, it could be a buy the rumor, which we've already seen the rumor bought, and sell the news. So we might see a temporary high in oil prices here, but we'll just have to see.
Sure.
We have other, go ahead.
Just one ripple effect that we have that comes out of this story is that Trump perhaps wants no exports out of the U.S. when it comes to oil. Do you think that will be a net benefit for us? Because for a long time, we talked about how we could be a competitive producer in the landscape.
Well, the U.S. is a net exporter, can be a net exporter of crude oil, and we are the world's largest provider right now. There's no reason to think that that's going to end anytime soon. You look at the various forecasts for shale oil growth, especially in the Permian and the Bakken, that's set to increase this year. The big factor is demand. Is the world going to need as much crude oil supply? And if growth doesn't keep growing, if the growth slows down in China, if they haven't troughed, and that's the big question right now, are they on the upswing? Then we're probably not going to see as much demand heading into the end of the year. But a lot of economic indicators suggest that China has troughed. So a big part of that is just the demand. There's so many factors here. The world consumes about 100 million barrels per day. The world produces about 100 million per day, and there's not a lot of leeway in supply.
Right.
So that's why we see these huge swings in crude oil prices on a week-to-week basis, and this is just another example of that.
All right, we will keep tabs on this. Big news between the U.S. and Iran, and then all those other countries as well. We'll see the effects. Thanks, Jared.